Central Europe to the Ostrava region, and our last presentation is co-authored by Martin Jemelka and Jakub Štofanik. They both come from Masaryk Institute and Archives of the Czech Academy of Science. Martin Jemelka has his PhD from the University of Ostrava, and his research interests are in modern economic and social history, urban history, labor and working class history of the Czech lands, modern religious history, and much more. Jakub Štofanik has his PhD from a joint program in comparative history from a joint program of Martin Luther University in Halle-Wittenberg and Charles University in Prague. He works in the field of comparative social and cultural history of Europe in the 19th and 20th centuries. And their paper has a title, Being Modern Christian and Worker in the Czechoslovak National State, 1918-1938.
We will talk together with Jakub about working class. So our division of labor is that I will be present and Jakub is then responsible for the following discussion. The process of constituting of Czechoslovak Republic at the end of October 1918 was to be in the minds of its founders, headed by the future president Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk, an act of national revolution. The national revolution was to be closely followed by a social revolution, emphasizing the demands of land reform and socialization of large industrial enterprises. While the social revolution broke down as a half-hearted land reform, and large enterprises were eventually socialized in completely different political setting as late as in October 1945, the national revolution gave birth to a multinational and multi-confessional Czechoslovak state. It was dominated by the Czechoslovak nation, with the prevailing denomination being Roman Catholic, and took the form established in 1920 until March 1939. An integral part of the national and social revolution after 1918 was to be a religious revolution under the slogans of the democratization of Czech Catholicism, its departure from Rome and Vienna, and the accomplishment of the Czech Reformation and anti-clerical tradition represented by Hus, Komensky, and Masaryk. This fact was omitted in Czech historiography until it was brought light again by foreign researchers led by Martin Schulze-Wessel. Besides the independent Czechoslovak state and the filing socialization, the revolutionary events and ethos of October 1918 gave rise to another revolutionary project, the National Czechoslovak Church. It was established after 13 months of agitation, conceptual inconsistencies and conflicts with the Roman Catholic hierarchy at the beginning of January 1920. The new church, the establishment of which was initiated by several dozen lower-ranking Czech clerics, was primarily supposed to be the Czech national church, free of Roman Catholic patronizing. It was to be a democratic church, as regards hierarchical structures, tolerant in dogmatic methods, and modern in terms of its ritual practice and law. It should have been a platform from which to eliminate the decades of antagonism between Czech nationalism and the Danubian version of Ultramontane Catholicism, sharply hierarchized in social and national terms. In the minds of its founders, the Czechoslovak Church had the potential to address most of Czech Christian society that did not want to break away from institutionalized Christianity and at the same time desired to leave the Danubian Catholicism. Discredited by the controversies between aristocratic hierarchy connected with the House of Habsburg and ordinary clerics, mostly from rural areas, characterized by the prevailing Czech language and social instability. The 1910 and 1921 census showed that the Roman Catholic Church lost more than 1,400,000 worshippers in the Czech lands, of which about 500,000 found their institutional asylum in the Czechoslovak Church. The Czechoslovak Church, which obtained state approval in September 1920, found most response in larger cities, industrial regions, and several rural areas in Moravia and central and eastern Bohemia, most of which were linked to the activities of pro-reform chaplains and Capacists. In mid-February 1921, 5% of the population of the Czech lands claimed affiliation to the new national church community. 9 years later, in December 1930, it was about 7% declared themselves members of the Czechoslovak Church. This was when the church went through its constitutive stage, during which it experienced a theological crisis, resulting in secession of a number of worshippers and the establishment of the Czech Orthodox Church under the jurisdiction of the Serbian Orthodox Church. It was early 20s. The church also faced a series of legal conflicts with the Roman Catholic Church, whose churches and chapels, often with the tacit approval of the local authorities, in the boroughs with a prevalence of members of the Czechoslovak Church. The Hungarians and demonstrations of collective justice in the final months of World War I then found a response in local violence. The political stabilization and increasing legal awareness of the young Czechoslovak state, which saw a weakening of the anti-Catholic tendencies of the post-revolutionary period, led to the restitution of Catholic churches, rectories, and churchyards in the mid-20s. The Czechoslovak Church thus faced the need to build its own confessional infrastructure. Building churches was a constant financial burden, which gradually phased down the initial revolutionary ethos of the national church. When the Czechoslovak Church was forced to change its name to the Czech Moravian Church after the establishment of the Protectorate Permanent Mier, it had more than 200 churches and up to 1 million worshippers amongst the workers and the lower middle class, led by teachers and lower-ranking state officials. The idea of national, social and religious revolution resonated particularly strongly in the region of Ostrava, the center of the Czechoslovak heavy industries. These regions situated in Black Coal Basin near the Czechoslovak German-Polish state border, also on the Czech-German-Polish language border, and on the border between areas that were traditionally Catholic and Lutheran but had a strong Jewish presence. From the end of the 19th century, Ostrava region underwent a period of national and social turmoil, exacerbated especially by the tense circumstances during World War I, when Ostrava's heavy industry was thoroughly militarized. The post-war establishment of the National Czechoslovak Church in Ostrava region came at a time when the people's referendum was being prepared in the boroughs between Ostrava and Těšín, along the border river Olza, together with the separation of the Czech-speaking enclave of Hručín from Germany and its accession to the Czechoslovak state. It was also a time of rising social tensions caused by the post-war crisis in the coal and heavy machinery industry and requirement of Socialist Ostrava's heavy industry, accompanied by the forced departure of many Poles to the neighboring and newly emerging Polish state. Radvanice in Silesia, a suburb Minas-borough which now lies within the city of Ostrava, almost 30% of whose inhabitants lived in 3 worker colonies, became the cradle of the Czechoslovak Church in northern Moravia and Czech Silesia. The very first community of the Czechoslovak Church was established in January 1920, just 1 week after the founding synod in Prague, during the culmination of the border conflicts around Těšín, and at a time of unceasing pressure from left-wing social democrats to socialize their enterprises. The national and social tensions, which tended to result in a violent response to the strife, also had an impact on the confessional conflicts which affected many boroughs in the region in the weeks following the establishment of the local community of the Czechoslovak Church in Radvanice. The violent seizure of several Roman Catholic churches and accusations, the several clerics had shown favoritism to Poles led to violence and bloodshed, especially in the villages around Radvanice, mostly inhabited by the working class. The Red priest Ferdinand Stibor formerly a Catholic and later Czechoslovak priest, bishop, and patriarch of the Czech Moravian Church. One of the four signatories of the founding deed of the Czechoslovak Church, became the charismatic leader of the dramatic establishment of communities of the Czechoslovak Church in Ostrava region. Stibor's personality as a Czech nationalist and cleric is a considerable degree of social empathy. Raised awareness of the national, social and religious conflicts in the early 20s as the most important social issue of the largest industrial region in the Czechoslovak state. As early as in the first post-war census, 63% of the inhabitants of Radvanice declared their affiliation to the Czechoslovak Church, and in the three neighboring Silesia villages it was more than 30%. It took a further 9 years before the Czechoslovak Church also established itself in the more urbanized Moravian villages in an area which now forms part of Ostrava. Its members made up more than 20% of the population in 7 Moravian villages, today also part of Ostrava. While in 1921-1930 the number of worshippers of the Czechoslovak Church always gradually grew towards Radvanice in geographical terms, the actual quantities varied a lot during the 20s. The primary factor was the national and social composition of population, where the percentage of worshippers of the Czechoslovak Church fell as national and social heterogeneity increased. Another key role in this process was the new church's ability to fulfill the pastoral needs of the worshippers. This is the only explanation for why in Radvanice alone the Czechoslovak Church lost about 20% of its worshippers, who joined the Roman Catholic community after the restoration work on the Roman Catholic Vicarage in 1925, or, more importantly, became ceased to be affiliated to any church. The observation made by Czechoslovak sociologists of the period that post-war conversions to the Czechoslovak Church were for many of its worshippers only a short stopover on the way to agnosticism was far from irrelevant. It was not only in Ostrava region that the Czechoslovak Church was especially attractive to the Czech lower classes, including the working class and so-called iron farmers, villagers working in industry. It offered them an opportunity to settle the national and confessional rivalry of the preceding decades. The question of how the Czechoslovak working class affinity with the Czechoslovak Church originated was also answered by a questionnaire survey at the end of 1929, before the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the church, carried out among the readers of Český zápas, Czech struggle, its official period. The questionnaires were filled by 600 worshippers, answering a variety of questions about the reasons why they had joined the Czechoslovak Church and how they felt about its development so far. There were only 12 responses from Ostravsko. However, a long letter is attached from Bulváky, a working quarter of Ostrava, whose author provided an intimate insight into the broad range of reasons for joining the Czechoslovak Church. The key motivation for his female respondent was the use of Czech liturgical language and the emotional impact that liturgy had in the national language. For 68 other working class respondents in industry and farming across the Czech lands, the prevailing reasons for leaving the Roman Catholic Church, besides the national liturgical language, related to the wrong it had done to the Czech nation, Germanization, the legitimization of the Habsburg state, and the war atrocities. They also mentioned the lack of confessional tolerance to church dogmatic and authoritative approach, fees charged for liturgical arts, and practice of confessions, superstition, and generally inconsistency between the doctrine promoted by the church and its practices. Other reasons that made the Czechoslovak Church so attractive, besides the language aspect, included its reformism, sympathy with the converted Catholic clerics, Catholic agitation, and most importantly, the freedom of consistence, which was based on a non-dogmatic approach to the Christian message. The survey, for instance, showed that most of the respondents were opposite to the traditional teaching of the Holy Trinity. The respondents claimed that it was easier to be a conscience Czech, a modern Christian and proletarian in the community of the Czechoslovak Church than it was in the Roman Catholic Church. The dynamism of the confessional mobility in the Czech lands in the 20s and 30s, and the fluctuation in the number of followers of the Czechoslovak Church are evidenced in many resources, primarily in the census statistics and Roman Catholic books on changes in denomination. In Radvanice alone, more people returned to the Roman Catholic Church in the mid-20s than left the church for whatever reason. And the years 1921 and 1930, when the numbers of Jews leaving the Catholic Church in Radvanice were the highest, were also census years and the culmination of the anti-Catholic campaign, which was also proactively exacerbated by the non-believer organizations of the Social Democrats and Communists, in addition to the Czechoslovak Church. If the Czechoslovak Church benefited from the post-war revolutionary ethos of the national reckoning with the Nubian Catholicism, it profited only briefly during the constitutive years of the Czechoslovak Republic. And if it offered its worshippers teaching which was tolerant in dogmatic matters and included medi-modernist impulses in the industrial working class environment, it met with nothing more than limited interest in theological topics and criticism of the attitude shown to property in the new church, whose clerics strive for the same thing as their Roman Catholic predecessors: social status and the financial stability of a cleric paid by the state. Full identification with the message of the Czechoslovak Church was hampered by many practical obstacles, whether related to Christian ministry or social status and consensual family tradition. All the more so when joining a new church community was not the result of an inner conversions, but generally a mere administrative act. While the ideologies of the Czechoslovak Church prized its numbers of followers, however far this was from the original assumption of the entire Czech nation converting to a new national church. Back in 1930, the Czech sociology of religion inquired into the reasons why the newly acquired identity was so fragile, and the confessional mobility of the worshippers of the Czechoslovak Church had increased. The lack of inner conversions and administrative nature of the conversions, the rise of national and anti-clerical topics and theological flexibility, agreeable to the Spiritists as well as the non-believers movement, rendered the Czechoslovak Church unable to offer its worshippers the enduring identity of national Christianity. Those whose approach to the Church was critical included not only the Roman Catholic Church, but also Evangelical Church of Czech Brethren, non-believer organizations, and sociologists of religion, who criticized its theological eclecticism, rising nationalism, and the superficiality of the anti-Catholic struggle. Many of their prognoses turned out to be visionary. The Czechoslovak Church had over 1 million worshippers in 1950, but since the 50s has outstripped all the others of the church community that is dying out the quickest, with less than 40,000 worshippers in the Czech Republic today. The mass affinity of the Czechoslovak clerics with state socialism, which went beyond the borders of collaborationism, also played an important role. Compared with the Roman Catholic Church, the Czechoslovak Church lagged behind in the programmatic development of social topics and social ministry, as it paid more attention in developing its armed organization, and as regards the struggle against the economic crisis, it confined itself to traditional charity methods. In the face of the actual economic crisis, identification with the Czechoslovak Church was a much more fragile process for the Czech working class than it was for Roman Catholic workers. To conclude, it seems that besides the social revolution agenda, it was also the project of religious revolution that failed. Unless we consider this to have been fulfilled by Czech Protestant churches merging to form the Evangelical Church of Czech Brethren, or by the increase in the number of non-believers. The reason for the short-lived success and eerie ideological depletion of the Czechoslovak Church actually lies in its Slavish symbiosis with Czech nationalism. The stand with members of nations other than the artificially established Czechoslovak nation. It was also one reason why only few members of nations other than Czechoslovakia found their refuge in the Czechoslovak Church. In the end, the Czechoslovak Church was a religious project of Czech nationalism and a religious chapter in the national state program, rather than a new wave aiming at rehabilitating Christianity and implementing a reform program stemming from the efforts of several dozen Roman Catholic clerics. With the involvement of many Czechoslovak clerics in the structure of the Czechoslovak state under the state socialism, and with the reforms of the Second Vatican Council, this project was definitely doomed.